The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
Close your eyes and pull like a dog.
And a new Irish record for Phil Healy, 22.99.
Christy Cooney hands over the Sam Maguire Cup to Graham Canty, Cork All-Ireland champions for the 7th time ever.
Hello and welcome back to a very special Star Sport podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Mangan, and I'm joined as always by Star Sport editor Kieran McCarthy. We have a very special show for you today. As you can see, we're recording this outside of the Southern Star offices. We're in Access Credit Union in Skibbereen today. Access Credit Union have been sponsors of the podcast for a long time, so thank you to them for hosting us today. And to celebrate, Kieran, we have not one, not two, not three, but four guests who are coming onto the show today.
Go big or go home. That's
exactly. And they've all been part of the O'Donovan Ross's All-Ireland Ladies Football Championship victory last year. The four guests are Derek Tobin, who's a selector with the team. We have Cork minor and defender Ali Tobin. Sinead Farrell, who's also a journalist at the 42, and forward Jessica Beechner, who just so happens to be an employee of Access Credit Union. So we've loads to look forward to on today's podcast. Access Credit Union, will give them a little bit of a plug just before we go any further though, Kieran, because they've been on board with the podcast for a long time now, and I guess we can vouch firsthand for their commitments to the West Cork community. They've been brilliant sponsors of this podcast and also the Young Business Person of the Year award at the Southern Star's West Cork Business and Tourism Awards. And we know how great a position West Cork Sport is in, and the connection that I guess the fact that we get to do a weekly podcast. Not that many local newspapers or not that many regions like West Cork do get the opportunity to showcase talents like we're doing today, and Access Credit Union are a big part of the reason that we can actually do that. And it's just great to have them on board in such a brilliant time for West Cork Sport.
100%. Access have been super sponsors of the podcast for the last couple of years. So like you said there, Dylan, put on record our thanks to the team Tony has here and everyone involved in Access Credit Union, because what you have is you have two very strong local brands. You have Access Credit Union here in Skib, and you have the Southern Star as well. So you have two strong local brands coming together for the betterment of West Cork Sport. So having Access on board as our sponsors, it just allows us every week to tell the stories and the tales of the West Cork sports people. And that's what this podcast has been doing since, I think it's January 2019 now. So we're well into our, is it 5 years? It's going strong. We've over, I've lost even count how many episodes we've now. We've 260, 270 or more episodes. And it's all
269 today, I think.
There we go, almost 270 episodes. So that means this year we're going to hit our 300 episode, and it's going to be another incredible year for West Cork Sport. We think the Olympics are just around the corner, and here in Skibbereen that we're, touch wood, all going well, that we will have celebrations in the summer as well. So to have, like I said, to have Access Credit Union and the Southern Star link up together for the Star Sport podcast is brilliant, and our thanks to them. And I think, and I could be open for correction here if any of our listeners can correct me, I think we're the only regional newspaper in the country that have a dedicated weekly sport podcast. And like I said, we've had it for the last number of years. So 269 and counting.
Exactly. And our guests today, Kieran, moving on to them, we won't give them too long an introduction because I know everyone will want to hear from them, but they've been part of an incredible O'Donovan Rossa team, crowned All-Ireland Junior Club Football champions last year on the 17th of December, I think it was. Celebrations haven't stopped since then. They were crowned the 2023 West Cork Sports Star Team of the Year at the West Cork Sports Star Awards, and as we'll hear, they're still celebrating, I think, that one. So it's been a brilliant year for them.
It's been a super season for the Skip footballers. They might have to put a pin in the celebrations now, because at some point they're going to have to look to the 2024 season and their intermediate challenge. But the thinking behind talking to the O'Donovan Rossa today was, like you said, they were crowned West Cork Sports Star Team of the Year. They did their social a couple of weeks ago as well, where they celebrated their success. And it's almost just to just almost the final chapter in this incredible year that they had. They're the Skibbereen team that lost the county final in 2022, but rebounded in style last year to win county, Munster and All-Ireland. An incredible year. It's 30 years since Skibbereen won an All-Ireland title. Now they have a ladies team to go alongside their history-making men's team from 1993. So we just felt it was just a really nice fit. We're here in Access Credit Union in their building, their big boardroom, and I'm getting quite comfortable here. I can see myself kind of moving out of the Star office into this comfy boardroom in future if I can get away with it. But I just felt it was a nice fit just to have a chat with some of the local people involved in Skib's success. And just a quick shout out to Jessica Beechner, who we're going to hear from quite soon. She works here in the credit union, so I hope Tony Hughes is listening to this, the man who runs the Access Credit Union here, because she spoke to us on her lunch break. So I think she deserves to be let off work early someday this week. So that's my call out for Tony if he's listening to the podcast. Give Jessica, let her finish up, give her a half day someday this week, because
you're like the priest coming in to visit the school, giving everyone homework off.
That's exactly it. So instead of homework off, give Jessica a half day. So that's why, if Tony's listening to this, we'll see how that works out. But no, it was just super to catch up with the four of them. It was a great chat and a great reminisce about a great year for Skib.
Absolutely. Let's hear from them now.
Now, I'm delighted to be joined by Andrea Stock, Irish international rugby player. Andrea, how are you?
I'm good. Good. How are you?
Not too bad at all. No, and where are you joining us from today?
So I'm currently actually living. I've just moved to a flat just beside Twickenham Stadium. So the area is Isleworth, but I just say Twickenham. It's a lot easier because people know where it is.
It's very handy, in fairness. And I suppose, Andrea, we'll go into a bit about your background first of all before we get into the Irish rugby stuff. But give us an understanding of your growing up in Durras and maybe a few of the sports you played when you were a youngster.
Yeah. So I actually came from quite a sporty family. I think my parents always had me and my siblings involved in sports growing up. So played Gaelic football growing up. That was a big part of my life. I did swimming as well. Swimming, shockingly, did ballet for a few years, and then decided to join rugby when I was around 14, and yeah, that's where the ballet kind of stopped. I don't think the two really went hand in hand with each other, unfortunately. But yeah, no, I started playing rugby when I was 14. One of my friends that I went to school with played rugby with a Bantry. I think the club had just been set up at the time, and she was like, "Oh, you should come along. Like, I think you'd really, really enjoy it." And I was like, "Yeah, sure." Like, I'm always up for just getting involved in new sports. And yeah, I came along to a training session, and I fell in love with it pretty much straight away. It was really good, and that's where I met, some of my like close friends that I had at the time as well. So yeah, that's pretty much the background of my sporting.
And when you started off then with the rugby team in Bantry, what age group was that then, Andrea?
So it was under 15s. At the beginning, I started off with, and I think there was, oh God, I think there's quite a few of us actually joined. I think people just kind of heard that. I think it was one of the closest rugby clubs nearest to people at the time. So there were people coming from like Skibbereen, Dunmanway, Drumleague, that sort of thing. This was before Skibbereen set up their own rugby club as well. But yeah, so we had people coming from quite far to actually play with Bantry. And then I think when I hit 15, I then joined the senior women's Bantry team.
Lovely. And just backtracking a small bit, what was the biggest change from ballet and rugby? I'd imagine the fact that you're getting hit in the face for 60 to 80 minutes isn't too appealing when you're in I don't know what even do they call the ballet shoes?
I couldn't even tell you at this time. I think it was literally ballet slippers. I mean, my mum and dad had literally gone out and gotten me a tutu, like a frame for me to practice on and all this. It was a very, very big jump. I think like when I was doing swimming alongside rugby, that was good because obviously in terms of like fitness, in terms of mobility and all that, it went more hand in hand. And a lot of people actually did swimming alongside rugby. So I think it was a good mixture. And ballet also was quite good for mobility. But my mum kind of going into it was like, obviously when she learned that I wanted to join rugby, more feared for my health than anything else, and injuries and that sort of thing, which you wouldn't necessarily get when you were doing ballet. But yeah, very, very big difference obviously but I think something similar between the two of them is just discipline. I think you have to be very disciplined in both sports, and I think that was something that transferred over really well. Just the discipline of rugby and just how strict you have to be on yourself was the same with ballet.
Exactly. And moving on back into the rugby sphere then, and obviously when you were mentioning playing with Bantry, there was another Irish international who you would have grown up with and played with, Enya Breen. How influential has she been for you, even just looking on, seeing her success and almost driving you towards success then?
Absolutely. She was honestly she was just a massive part of my life. Like obviously a very, very good friend of mine. And just seeing kind of like the success that she got, especially from such a young age as well. Like I think she went up into the Irish team when she was 18, 19. And kind of watching, even when I did move over to the UK, she's always just had a massive influence on my life, and just everything that she's done for herself. I always just kind of looked at her and I was like, that's what I want to be like as a player. Like I strive to like do exactly what she's doing. And obviously, of course, the fact that she's a really good friend of mine and just like a massive positive role model that exists in my life as well.
Mm-hmm. No, fantastic, and she's an inspiration to all girl rugby players growing up in West Cork. But when did you start noticing, really, Andrea, that you started to get, you know, your success in the pitch and your performance in the pitch, you know, started to obviously making Munster Interpros and things like that. When did that really start to hit you? Was it kind of mid-teens when you started to notice I actually might be good here?
I mean, it took a while, to be honest. I think at the beginning, I very much just played rugby because I enjoyed it. And I always loved the team aspect of it. Like just kind of 15 people hitting the pitch, all having a common goal, and that's, you know, to win them, you do it for each other. So I kind of just started off very much like, yeah, this is just fun. I enjoy it, keeps me fit, keeps me healthy. And I think it was the first year I was playing, possibly going to second, when I hit 15, and we had just won the league that we were in as well. And I think there was 5-6 of us that then got called up to the Munster under 18s team, and I honestly was very shocked. I wasn't expecting it at all. Like I kind of knew, you know, that I was decent at it, but I think at that point confidence with rugby has always been a massive blocker in my life. So I think growing up, I just never thought I would kind of get to that stage. But yeah, no, a load of us got called up to then the Munster team for under 18s then. And it was a great experience. Like I learned loads, I developed loads. And at that time, obviously, when I was playing Munster, I had a positional change as well. Exciting.
No, but fair play. It's obviously to make any Munster team, no matter what age group it is a fantastic achievement. But moving on then to around 2018, and you made the switch across the pond. So give us a small bit of background on that. And was it for college? Was it for sport? Talk us through a small bit about that.
It was actually quite a funny story what happened. So originally growing up, physiotherapy was always what I wanted to do and what I wanted to study. But obviously with how the point system in Ireland works, it was kind of next to near impossible to get those sort of points to get physio. So I kind of never thought that I would get it. So I kind of opted to possibly go for a sports science degree and then go on and do a master's. So originally the college I always wanted to go to was UL in Limerick. And that's what I had put on. And my mum had kind of been saying that, you know, quite a few people specifically for physiotherapy go over to England or to the UK in general to study physio. So I was kind of like, you know what, I'll apply for some schools over there. Again, the points, like the grades that were needed were still very, very high. So I kind of said, I'll apply, I'll see how I get on. Was kind of like a personal statement interviewing, flew over to interview for the thing for the course, and that was fine. Came to around like when I got my leaving cert results, and I hadn't got the grades for physio, and I didn't actually get the grades for sports science either. So yeah, we went out for the leaving cert night, and I actually got a phone call from my mum the next day while I was up in Tipperary, and she was just like, you've gotten into Brunel. And I was like, what? I was honestly so shocked because I didn't get the grades, but I just had done so well in the interview and my personal statement that they gave me an unconditional offer. And then just after I had accepted Brunel, UL also offered me an unconditional thing for sports science. So I just basically had a decision to make, and I decided to go with Brunel. So originally I had gone over for college, and kind of once I'd gotten over there, one of my coaches at Brunel, who also studied at Brunel, played for Wasps. So she was like, you know what, you're a very good player. She was like, why don't you come along to a training and see how you like it? And that's essentially where my career at Wasps started. I just decided to go to a training session. I absolutely loved it. And then that was my club for a whole part of 6 years before I changed clubs now this season.
And just as you mentioned with the changing clubs, we're just mentioning about how Wasps went into administration.
Yeah.
Their men's team got disbanded, and obviously enough with their women's team. But how did the news come through to you guys about that? Did you hear you know, on the radio or just online, just out of the blue, or were you forewarned?
So I think everything happened really, really quickly. There was kind of, I suppose, rumblings along the grapevine that something was going on, but I don't think any of us knew the actual extent to what it was. And I just remember coming to training one night. This was last season at Wasps, and our coaches just kind of sat us down, and they were like, gone into administration. We were told that there and then all of our contracts were going to be made redundant, staff as well. And yeah, that news just hit us all very hard. I think especially for me, because moving over to a different country is hard enough, but Wasps I kind of saw as my family. That's where I made my friends and got to know my coaches, and they just supported me through everything over here when I didn't necessarily have my family or my friends from home. So that news was really tough. And then I think people kind of were like, do they want to make the decision to either just stay for the season and not have contracts and just kind of see how we get on? Or some people also decided that, obviously getting a salary from rugby is a big part of a lot of people's careers. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people left also for that reason, which is completely understandable. So yeah, very difficult time, but I actually decided to stay, and I decided to see out the season at Wasps. And yeah, then once Wasps was out of the Prem, I then moved to Trailfinders Women.
Mm-hmm. And since you've been with Ealing, then obviously came probably one of the most, I suppose, proudest moments of your career, getting selected for the Irish team. And walk us through the process of that. How does one get selected for the Irish rugby team?
So I had actually been in contact with Ireland for, I suppose, a year now. I think so. Last season when I was at Wasps, regardless of the fact that it was quite a tough time, I was playing quite well at the time. And the head coach at the time had contacted me and was just like, we've seen you play, we've been watching your clips, so you're on our radar. And that's when, at that time last year, I was called into the wider squad for the Six Nations. So I never actually got called into camp. I was very much just like the wider squad, so that if someone got injured, I'd be brought in. No one did end up getting injured, so I never actually came into camp. Mm-hmm. So since then, and then Scott's now the new head coach for Ireland. He kind of came over, was it before Christmas? And said, just introduced himself. I met John as well, who's our forwards coach, and they kind of just said, what we like about you, he's a strong scrummager, you're a really strong ball carrier, and these are aspects that we're looking for. And he just said, essentially, keep doing exactly what you're doing, because I've been playing really well. And yeah, so about, was it 2 weeks before the team actually got released, I got an email essentially just saying, you're under consideration for the Six Nations squad. Keep playing hard, because there was games that we were doing in between, so still plenty of time for other players to prove themselves. Mm-hmm. And then I was at training on the Thursday, and that we knew that day selection was coming out, so I think there was a few of us kind of waiting for the news at training. And the email came through and I was done, and my coaches were like, oh my god, what is it? And I was like, I'm going to go home and I'm going to read it on my own in case it is bad news and I start crying or something. So I was like, I'll let you know once I open it. So I got home, took a deep breath, and I was just like, you know what, just read it. And it had said that I had been selected for the squad. And honestly, happiest moment of my life. Rang my parents straight away, doing a little giddy dance up and down. But yeah, that was essentially how the process worked and how I got then.
Mm-hmm. And I suppose once now that you're on the team or in the squad, the goal now is to get involved with the team and get some game time. And you're just looking at a few of the fixtures. Anyway, it's France away in the first game. Probably doesn't get much tougher than that. But just look at the fixtures. There's one definitely that you'll probably have circled. Wales at home in Musgrave Park. That's definitely one to nearly get a bus load up from Doris, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest, kind of looking at all the fixtures, I think the one that would have the most meaning for myself in particular would be if I did happen to get selected for that Wales at home game. I think that would just be a massive thing. I've played in Musgrave Park countless times, and it's just an area that means a lot to me, and it means a lot to my family as well. I've already had so many family members just like ready to buy tickets if I do manage to get selected. But Yeah, I would say half of West Cork would hopefully come up to that game in Cork. But yeah, that probably would be the most exciting and important one for myself.
Exactly. And listen, Andrea, I wish you all the best and hope you do get the chance to take the field in Musgrave Park. But appreciate you joining us, and I wish yourself and all the team the best of luck for the year.
Thank you so much.